3, 2. Yo, what's up, guys? Your boy eugenesmilez, and I'm back. Can y'all see who I'm with?
Hey!
I'm with the lovely
Tevin
and Jewel the motherfucking Jello. That is what you ain't ever motherfucking see in your motherfucking life.
Public Enemies 1, 2, and 3. Any order, we are the target. So, during the season of The Circle Atlanta, there was a lot of issues about gender identity, what to call people. I hate titles, I hate labels, but then meeting Jewel and talking to Jewel about it, I was like, we should talk about this. I want to learn some stuff about this. Mm-hmm. And especially this is Pride Month.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to call people what they want to be called.
Yes.
So, Jewel's going to teach us a couple things.
Yes.
Yeah. Definitely.
We're going to have an informal conversation. One thing that I will say is that I do encourage for everyone to do their research, and people do also identify with different things in their own way. So I'm going to just break it down based off like the homegirl way, girl from around the way. I'm from Brooklyn. Brooklyn stand up.
Brooklyn.
So I'm going to just talk about it in a very like down to earth way, that I would break it to my friends, not necessarily as a facilitator, workshop trainer type of thing, but just like how I would describe it to y'all. So on the show, there is a trans woman, right? So someone who identifies as trans, specifically a trans woman, means that the doctor saw them as a baby and was like, oh, these are their different genitals, because doctors do that. And they say, oh, based off of genitals, this is your gender, right? So a trans woman, more oftentimes than not, is socialized as a young boy, as a child, right? But that does not mean that they see themselves as that. So oftentimes, a lot of times, trans people would just be like, that isn't, I don't identify in this way, right? These aren't the ways I want to express myself. I don't identify with being considered the way society is naming me as a boy. So gender is in your head. Your genitals is what your body is doing, but that's not the same. And doctors conflate the two, which is wrong. They should not. People should choose their gender.
So, male and female is not necessarily gender.
That's sex.
That's sex.
Yes.
That's sex. So let's talk about cisgender.
Mm-hmm. So for example, right, so we're all cisgender.
Right.
So the three of us are cisgender. So I'll say for myself, right? So a cisgender person, that means the doctor came out and said, oh, these are your genitals, this is your gender. So my genitals and gender, they're like, oh, that's a girl, right? So I'm socialized as a girl. I agree with that. I'm like, yes, cis means same. So I identify with the gender that I was assigned at birth. So I'm cisgender. You identify as the gender that you were assigned at birth, as a man. Same do you. So you're cisgender.
Because let me tell you something. I didn't know what cis meant, and I was on one of those dating apps, and they had a.
You said cis? I ain't cis.
That's the thing. I was like a sissy. What is
right?
that?
It's CIS for everybody who's listening. And CIS, that stands for same.
Makes a lot of sense.
I mean, the whole thing for me is I didn't even get into any of this until I met you, because I don't have any, trans friends or anything like that. So this is all new territory.
Yeah.
So meeting you, I understood what cis meant just by meeting you and hearing you say, I'm a cis woman. So I kind of like put two and two together.
Right.
Use your context clues. Use your context clues. So I'm like, okay, so that means that. So all of this is interesting.
It is, and I think for me, coming to Atlanta, that was one of the hardest parts of even shooting this show, was because the community that I'm from in New York, we talked very much about transgender people, non-binary people who are agender, who don't identify with the gender at all. People, and so I'm very accustomed to that. Pronouns, we ask about pronouns. So when I come down here to the South and everybody's like, a trans person is a drag queen, I'm like, wait. Because drag is performance.
That's performance.
Okay, now, whereas a trans woman, and I'm gonna use that because we do have a trans woman on the show. A trans woman, like, that's how they live their life every day. This isn't a show. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's really important to have this conversation on the show. Y'all see some drama that comes from that. I specifically am an activist for the Black queer and trans community, because the Black trans community, specifically Black trans women, are dying at disproportionate rates.
Right.
As opposed to white trans women and Latinx trans women. So for me, even when I met Alyssa, I was like, hey, first interaction, I was like, I fight for Black trans lives. That's the work that I do. So, yeah. I will also say non-binary, which that came up on the show too.
Yes.
So when we think about the binary means two. And people think about pronouns, people think about she, her, which is the pronouns that I use, and he, him, which is the pronouns that I use. But if someone uses they, them pronouns, they're not identifying with she, her, and they, them. She, her, and he, him. Right? They identify with they, them, there. And so there's that to me is people are like, oh, well, that's not politically correct. But that's not true. There's two parts to that. One, it's not about being politically correct. It's about respecting people and calling them what they want to be called. Yes, so if someone is saying, I use they, them pronouns, you do it.
Yeah. If
someone say, your name is Pookie, we not like, Pookie, that's dumb. We say, oh, hey, Pookie.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? My name is Jules. Some people call me Jay. That's just what it is. So we will call people Pookie, Nunu, Stinkabutt, but then we're not going to call people anybody pronouns. That's exactly. Yeah. So that's one. Two, we actually use they, them pronouns a lot more than we think. If you think about someone left something, we'll be like, oh, who left their sweater? Who left their coat? So we actually use they, them pronouns a lot more than people think. So that's something that also comes up. Another thing is that you cannot tell if someone is non-binary. You cannot tell. Someone can look like me and use they, them pronouns. Someone can also use they, them, and she, her. They can use they, them, and he, him. So
is that the same thing as like androgynous? Like is that a similar thing, or is that the same thing?
So androgyny is more so your gender expression.
Okay.
So for example, I'm a cisgender woman who has a femme expression, right? I like my nails, my hair, and my wig be slipping, but my hands don't, baby. My wig slip, but my hands don't, baby.
It ain't slipping today.
Period. And I'm a baddie. You know what I'm saying? I'm a baddie without my wig. Anyways. So my gender expression is femme. So you can be a cisgender person and have an androgynous expression, right? So for example, you're a cisgender person, but you're like, oh, I have a lash. Yeah. Tevin has a lash. Okay, Tevin, real lash. Tevin will put some mascara on, and the lash is popping, right? So for me, it's just that's a gender expression. So we express our gender differently, but so that gender identity and then how we express our gender. But a lot of it is really the doctors. It's really science that really has it fucked up, because instead of them saying this is a baby with XYZ parts, they want to use gender. Yeah. That's why I don't fuck with gender reveals. I don't fuck with any of that, because people have to choose their own gender.
And you're automatically putting these colors on this gender. This is why I don't like labels.
Exactly. You are a black man in pink, and look at you rocking this pink.
Looking great.
Looking great. Okay.
Per usual.
Period.
Thanks.
Smile.
Oh, shut up, team. Shut up, TBT. Shut up. All yours. All yours. Nothing falls out. No gaps.
Hello. So again, I said I don't really like labels, because if you see black man, you're automatically gonna think big and scary. He might rob me. He might rape. That's just how they do. Labels. You see gay. If a straight guy thinks you're gay, he's automatically gonna think you're gonna try to talk to him, gonna try to touch him, try to hit on him. So I hate that we have to be in labels, but I do understand that we have to do that so people to understand somewhat of who we are.
Yeah.
I hate it. So I don't have a problem with people that call me she or girl, trying to be funny. Some people like me and my friends might do it for fun, but there's some people that don't like you try to do it that hurts you. That ain't gonna bother me. I know who I am.
But for me though, and I think it is like probably the feminine energy, or without having a conversation more so. So if you see me, then it's like lashes are popping. I'm gonna always be beat down. Always. So if that's the case, it's like, okay, so I'm gonna call him girl. And even like with waiters, I've been at restaurants and they're like, oh girl, and I'm like,
that tip is gone.
Don't call me a girl. I'm not a girl. Yeah. I enjoy being a man. I'm a man that likes men. I'm not a man that wants to be a girl that likes men. You know what I'm saying? To each his own. I don't want to be identified as that.
And I think that's what it comes down to when it comes down to pronouns, is that respecting that people want to be called the ways they want to be called. And so for me, I very much identify as a femme, aesthetically, and I get that, but I have a lot of masculine energy. I do. And my mask niggas call me bro. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, yeah, what's good? So I fuck with that. So if someone says something about me, they're like, oh, that's my bro, that's cool, I identify with being a bro, I identify with being a cis, that's fine, that's for me. And when it comes down, which y'all will see in the show, was the misunderstanding, and from me it was like, no matter what beef you have with someone, is you call them by their pronouns. Yeah. And what happens in the show is people being like, I don't fuck with you no more, or I don't like you for whatever reason, so I'm gonna misgender you. And I'm like, where they do that at?
Yeah.
I think it honestly boils down to disrespect.
It's disrespectful.
It's like you choose not to be respectful.
Because there's a lot of gender neutral names that you can call someone. You can say you're a piece of shit, you a bitch, you a whack ass nigga.
Listen, call me a bitch times infinity. Just don't.
You a motherfucker. Gender neutral.
Something that applies to everybody. Samuel L. Jackson, like motherfucker. That's what you are.
You're a motherfucker.
You're a motherfucker. But
so at the end of the day, it's respected. And if you don't know people's pronouns, you ask. And honestly, even in mid conversation, I will literally be like, if I'm cursing you out, what's your pronouns? Okay, you ain't nothing but a motherfucker that ain't. You know what I mean? So for me, it's about respect people's gender, respect people's pronouns, and when you are part of the LGBTQ community, for us to put down each other
with those certain whack. Words, certain slurs.
For black gay men to use the word like faggot, whack. For black gay men to misgender trans femmes who are dying at disproportionate rates, whack.
Yeah.
Whack. And I'm gonna call you out for that, always and forever. You ain't never gonna get my respect, and I'm boycotting any nigga who's on that same wave.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just feel like if everybody was respectful, then we wouldn't have a lot of these issues.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's like deliberate disrespect. It's a difference if somebody came off as disrespectful, more so ignorant. If you don't know or you're not aware, that's different. As opposed to, I know, but I'm choosing to do or say this because I know that that's gonna get to you.
Yeah.
That's lame as fuck.
And I will also say too that, like, also as black people, you know, when we think about coming together, because like I said, I fight for Black lives. When we think about coming together and when we are not respecting people and we're talking about Black Lives Matter, we have to talk about all Black Lives Matter, right? We have to talk about queer and trans people who use a variety of different pronouns. People's pronouns can change. You know what I mean? All of that type of stuff. And like, that's the way that we can respect black people, because we are currently in a racial uprising.
Yeah.
And yet we still fighting over gender and pronouns.
Yeah.
We gotta do better. Call people what they want to be called. Research about gender. Get your life.
There's so many people already, just to add to what you're saying, that is against us in this community that we have. But I feel like there's so much bullshit that happens in the community that is just late. Like, we have to fight everybody else, and then we have to fight people
our
that
community. Yeah.
And that's
like,
the thing too.
Crazy.
It's like, so if we want for the cisgender heterosexual community, so the cishet community, to respect us and see us as the black queer and trans community, and we over here fighting.
Yeah.
How can I want a cishet black man to respect black trans women when a black gay man won't respect black trans women?
Absolutely.
It doesn't make sense. So I'm really glad that we have this conversation, because I feel like a lot of times people are going to watch the show and really have their thoughts on gender and things like that. I encourage people to do their research. There are people who identify in a way and they express it in their own way. And for black people, a black trans man is going to look different. You know, and they're going to be across, and that's different. A black trans man might want to wear makeup. A black trans man may not. A black trans woman might want to wear makeup. A black trans woman may not. You know, a black non-binary person may want to do something and may not. Like, recognizing that we are not a monolith and that we all deserve to be respected.
And we got to stop putting gender labels on clothes and products.
Yeah. Can we stop?
It's like, it's crazy.
Can we stop?
They get mad because certain people put on, like, guys put on skirts or something, but then if it's a kilt, it's okay. It's clothes. It's fabric. It does not have a gender.
Everybody goes by what they want to go by at the moment, which is just stupid for me. But I appreciate you educating me. I'm glad that we were able to do it today, because there were a lot of things that I did not know. Like I said, I wouldn't even be having this conversation had I not met you.
Right.
And I'm glad. And I'm glad about that, because I also feel like a lot of times people are like, Jewel, why do you go so hard for the trans community? You're not a trans person. One, I'm like, it is the role of cisgender people to talk about it.
Exactly.
It's not just for black trans people to talk about black trans people. So I appreciate being in Atlanta and being in the South and meeting you all and being like, oh wait, there's people who didn't really know, but it's on me to also like have these conversations. So thank you for being open.
Of course.
Thanks for educating us.
I don't think I will ever. I don't think I've ever misgendered anyone, but
no.
I definitely now.
Once you know, you fix it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, you won't know someone's gender by someone's pronouns by meeting them, but once they tell you, you respect them.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. So guys, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Jewel is got so much stuff going on.
Busy,
she does
busy Jewel.
Amazing events. This is a real boss over here. Real boss.
It's a real one.
So make sure you follow Jewel on social media. Tevin is. Me and Tevin actually have some music we working on.
Yeah.
Can y'all comment?
CD on key.
Can y'all comment? Can y'all comment to make sure that Jewel the Gym is rapping with Eugene Smilez?
I got a hot verse already for her.
Okay. And you already know Tevin sings on key, always and forever.
Yeah.
And is a real ass American Idol contestant while niggas just wish. While niggas was viewing. Remember back in the day when niggas was dialing in?
Oh yeah, you had to call in on American
The
Idol.
other side of the table, them niggas was dialing in.
Fact of the matter is.
The fact of the matter is, we got some great things coming. Thank y'all so much for tuning in.
All right, we out.